Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Sankarshan Joshi trip. This is a solo Q&A episode, which means this is a part of the podcast where I ask a question on my Instagram and I'm going to be talking about the responses in the episode. The question for today's episode is a piece of advice to your younger self. And a part of growing up is making mistakes and learning from them, right? So I've received like a lot of amazing responses and I cannot wait to share it with you guys. So I hope you guys have fun.
A Sankarshan Joshi trip.
Huh. So at the time of me recording this podcast, so yesterday was Raksha Bandhan. So Raksha Bandhan is an occasion where you celebrate the love between a brother and sister, right? And like in the morning, me and my sister had a yelling competition. Like we both were at each other's neck and we were fighting a lot. And then like and my parents got involved and they're like, see, today's a very special occasion, so you both like make up your shit and then like be nice for at least for a day. And like we both had to pretend like nothing happened, and yeah, it was like pretty awesome. So like the best part about like having a sister is like you will have someone to blame for anything that happens in your life. Like that's one of the perks that you get for having a sibling. Like nobody in this entire world can annoy me like my sister. Like like she can get on my nerves like easily. Like she doesn't even have to do anything. Like she can just exist and I can just get annoyed. That's like sibling love. And like the contrast to that, right? uh, this is the first time I'm gonna be nice to my sister. I hope she's not listening to this. uh, like the opposite part, right? Like where there is also this other side to our relationship where we are like we are there for each other. Like no matter what I do, no matter like where I am, she's always gonna be there to like support, like either to annoy me or to support me. She's always gonna be there. And I hope I can be there for her too. And like yeah, the dynamic between siblings is like so unique. Like I've had like so many friends and they have like very weird with their siblings. Like me and my sister, we are like, if we are fighting, she is my mortal enemy. Like she's gonna be my enemy till I die. Like that's how much we hate each other when we fight. And like yeah, I can literally cry when something bad is happening in her life. Like, and that's the other end of the spectrum. So it's like the emotional things that like are so intertwined. And like some siblings, they have a very weird relationship where they're just like formal with each other. Like they just talk about like just like hi bye. Like they don't talk about the meat of the problems. And there are other like type of like siblings where they're with this, they just like hate, like constant hate. They just like enemies, like proper enemies. And yeah, it's so different what a human being is in terms of relationship. Like they can make or break a relationship with just like one action or like one word. And like it's so fascinating. Parent and child, the relationship, the dynamic is very different because it's more like protection, care, unconditional love, blah 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 blah, all that jazz. And with siblings it's very different. Uh, so I think that like I've never been annoyed at any of my friend as much as I was with my sister. So I think like my sister gets to see the full range of my like emotions. So she can see the happy side of me and the loving side of me, and she can also see the hateful and the anger side of me. So I think like siblings are the only people who get to see the wide range of emotion, or at least this is what I'm assuming because that's been the case with me. So yeah. Anyways, so let me think what else is happening in my life. So this episode is actually long due. So I was supposed to be recording this like I was supposed to be posting this episode like a week back, like 4 days back, but I didn't because I was like, I don't know what happened to me. Like few days back I was about to record this episode, and I think I hit a creative block. Like it's like I couldn't talk. Like there was this like weird environment where I'm just trying to like talk and then like do this episode, but like for some reason I wasn't able to like go full on with it. So today I decided that I am gonna do this episode. So yeah, uh another thing I wanted to talk about in this episode is uh I think this is the case with everybody because of the pandemic, is they got to spend a lot of time with themselves. Like they have no choice. Like you cannot meet friends often, or like you cannot go out often. And that has been the case with me too. Like I have been at home for like so long, and I haven't like met any of my friends in like close to 1 year. Yeah, I yeah. It's been like 1 year since I've met my like friends, and it is so weird to me because I've always been the kind of person who always has like friends to talk to. Like I always had people around me, and like I always considered myself to be an extroverted person. So I didn't know I had this introvertedness in me. Like now I'm getting to confront that side of me. It's like. Uh, I am happy by myself. Like I don't talk to anyone that much, and all I do is spend time with myself. Like I do this podcast, I go like work out every day, and I go for a walk. Like after I finish my workout, I just walk alone, and that's the time where I reflect on all the things that's been happening. And recently, it just hit me, like I was just rolling with the momentum of the lockdown. Like I didn't get to think that, oh, I'm spending a lot of time by myself. Like I was just like rolling with it, and like few days back it just hit me like I'm a very different person. Like before this lockdown I thought that like if I spend a lot of time with myself I'm gonna be sad. Like that has been the case. Like if I'm alone for a long time and I don't talk to anyone for a long time, I become sad. And I thought like I didn't have that in me, like to be alone. And like recently I think the pandemic made me be comfortable by being alone. So yeah, like now I'm at a point in my life where I'm okay even if I don't have company. So it's like this is the part where like now that I'm comfortable like being alone, I don't really have to take shit from anyone. Like usually if you have a friend and they're throwing like shit at you, or if you are in a circle that is being like toxic to you, and like you take that toxicity because you're scared of being alone or like not having friends. And like now I know that I can, like I'm happy, like I'm dealing with myself. I'm very like mindful about like how I utilize my time. I'm just like comfortable being alone. So now I don't give a shit about like any toxicity that like people throw. I do care about people. Like it's not like I'm a terrorist now. Like I do care about people, and like it's a very very weird and liberating feeling for me. So yeah, like now that I'm comfortable with this feeling, I am okay by like I'm okay with not having friends. So yeah. That sounds pretty sad, but it is actually very liberating. Like for a longest period of time I have thought that being alone makes me sad, and now that I'm confronting it and now I'm like it is okay, that feels like very very good. And I think like that's the case with everybody. Like they they're scared of being alone. Like a lot of people are just like scared of being alone and by themselves. I've had friends who have like extreme like anxiety when they think of like being alone. So like that extreme of that feeling. But like when you are afraid of something, and when you have made an assumption of how it's going to make you feel, like that insecurity, and like once you face it, and now and you realize that it's okay, like it's not actually that bad, like you can deal with that, uh it's like it's very very powerful. So yeah, that's one thing I wanted to talk about on the podcast. Like this podcast is like my life's journal. Like I get to share all my inner thoughts, like what all I have, and it's pretty amazing. One of the perks of doing this podcast is the feedback that I get from doing this. So like I've been trying to be very vocal about like pornography and like my relationship with porn and like how I view porn and all that shit. So I have recently been like posting on Instagram about like my thoughts, so like whatever, like just a snippets of my journey, and I've been receiving like pretty amazing responses. Like a lot of people are being able to relate to that, and they're like they want to talk about that. Like now people are very like happy that there is a conversation happening on my Instagram around this topic. So I've decided that I'm gonna talk about that like more often. Initially I didn't want to talk more about porn, was because that is like one of my flaw, so I wasn't really comfortable talking about like my flaws openly. And now I've made peace with my flaw, and I've realized that a lot of people feel the same way. So when I talk about this, like people want to feel safe and hear about that. So probably I like my next episode, or like my next solo episode, will be surrounding this topic. So yeah, now let's get into the the point of today's episode, which is the Q&A part. So like I said, the question of today's episode was a piece of advice to your younger self. So I'm gonna read out all the responses that I got, and at last I'm gonna give uh, my opinion, like my piece of advice for my younger self. So yeah. Uh, Naman Jain 99 says nothing. Naman Jain, bro, good for you. Good that you don't have like nothing to say for your younger self. In a way, this makes sense because when like you learn from your mistakes, right, and all the learnings will turn out to be very valuable in your life. So in a way you wouldn't want your younger self to not make that mistake. So yeah, I think like in a way I relate to this, because I wouldn't stop my younger self or like my past self from making any mistakes, because those lessons have been like very uh, like they have like they have dictated the course of my life like in a good way. So yeah, shoe month says network more. Ah, that's a really good advice. Like when I look back, uh, like when I was in my college, one of the things that I am proud of myself, or that I'm happy about, is the number of friends that I made. uh, so it's like initially when I was in school, like when you have friends, uh like you sit with them in the lunch break, like you talk to them, you do a lot of mischief with them. So you kind of define friendship in a very uh, strong emotional bond sense. So uh, it's like when you call someone a friend, that means that he should be really really close with you. And over the period of time, like my definition to like of what friendship is has changed. So it's like uh, all of your friends doesn't have to be there when you're going through shit. Like that's not what friendship is for, or at least all friendships. You can have some friendship, like for some friends who will be there when you're going through shit, but like you can still have friends who you want to be acquainted with. And so in that regards, I'm really like happy about the people that I have acquainted with in the college. So I finished my bachelor's in design recently, and I was also the part of the college theater club. I used to do like plays with them. I was also part of photography club. For a while, I was part of the dance club. So in a way, you meet a lot of passionate people. So when I was in my theater club, I got to meet Sumukha Prasad. Like I did my 24th episode with him, and I met Vaishak Dutt also through that. So Vaishak hosted my 25th episode, and so it's been such a lovely thing in my life to being like to be associated with people who are passionate about something in their life. And with respect to the designing part of my life, like I did a couple of internships, I did like couple of projects. So in a way, I got to meet a lot of professional people. So yeah, I think like networking more, like getting acquainted yourself with a lot of people could actually be like valuable in your life. Yeah, like I think uh, college life, I think that is what it's supposed to be. It's all about building relationship and like building friendships with people from different branches of like or like different streams and like the different orientations. So yeah, that's actually good advice, shoe month. So yeah, like Kirtana Venkatesh responds, don't ever grow older. It's a deep shit. Always stay innocent as you are. This is a pretty, this is a very dark advice to your younger self. Don't ever grow older. It's a deep shit. Always stay innocent as you are. Uh, when I read this, like a piece of advice, when I read this response by Kirtana Venkatesh, uh, I like my thoughts went on a very different layers. So it's like the one thing that hit me hard was the innocence part. It's like there is a notion of adulthood and growing up is that you shouldn't be innocent. It's like giving up on the innocence. It's like being mature and all of that. So and I say that's bullshit. So in a way, in the process of becoming an adult, in the process of becoming mature, you kind of leave a part of yourself reaching there, and that innocent part actually is pretty important for your happiness, like in general. So in my 25th episode with Vaishak Dutt, so in that he clearly mentions about like innocence and like being naive about like certain parts of our lives. Let's say if you're passionate about something, being naive to think that you can like you can do big with it, and being naive to dream big things in your life actually is actually like helpful, like it's a good thing. So in that way, like keeping hold uh and like holding on to our innocence as you grow older is good. And I mean, like, this is a like pretty sad piece of advice that Kirtana Venkatesh is giving to a younger self. I am not gonna pretend like what she's been through and like what literally she means by this advice, but yeah, like if like in hindsight, if this is what you see, you want to say to your younger self, hmm, makes sense, I guess. So the next response is from Gautam KB. Uh, Gautam KB says, trust yourself to do well and take a leap of faith. I regret not being risky enough. So, Gautam KB's advice to his younger self is to be more risky and take risks in life. Uh, when it comes to like career or like business or like entrepreneurship, a lot of CEOs, a lot of successful people say, like, like take risks in life, like take risks in life. And now it has been like a thing. Like taking risks has become like that is a constant advice that like everybody gives. And it is not actually as easy as people say. Like, you know, now when you look at your life, there are some things that is giving you like shelter, food, and then like clothes, and risking all of that to perceive something, it's not easy. And so when you're risking for something, it's always 50-50. Like the chances of that thing working out, and the chances of that thing not working out, it's like 50-50. And so taking risks is not easy as people say. So like Gautam KB wants his younger self to take more risks. And I think that like if you are in your early 20s, or if you are in your like late teens, that is the part of your life where you take decisions that would shape your career. So what are you gonna study, or like are you will you or will you not go to college? If you are going to college, what stream or like what specialization would you select and perceive? So it's like there are a lot of decisions, and a lot of like parents influence these decisions. Uh, so uh, I did my bachelor's in design, right? And I am glad that I did that, because that was something that I liked. Like I always wanted to be like creative. I was always interested in drawing and like being imaginative and like designing things. So I did my bachelor's in design. If I if i hadn't done my bachelor in design, that would have been like one of the biggest regrets in my life. So in that sense, I risked, uh, I risked a secure job. So it's like even my parents took a leap of faith in this matter. So uh, in society, your parents like want you to be financially independent and stay on your feet, right? And there are certain streams of education which will make you end up in a job which will pay you well. So in the stream of design, I didn't actually know if I was gonna get a good paying job or not. And like my parents also had that fear. And like now that I've finished my bachelor's, this field actually has a lot of scope, and this is what the future is gonna be. So if I hadn't like taken this, I would have regretted this. So my parents also took a risk and leap of faith, so did I. And it turned out to be good for me. So in that sense, like taking risks will shape your life, and what you risk and what are you risking for also matters. So I've like when I studied science in my 11th and 12th, it was like torture to me. Like I wasn't having fun at all. Like the academic pressure, and it was so robotic and monotonous. I was not happy at all. So i so i said to myself, if this is what I'm gonna end up doing in my life, then I'm gonna run away from this. So that's how I like ended up pursuing my passion. So yeah. So if you're listening to this, and if you're yet to choose what job you want to take or like what you want to study, make sure that you like it. Like you like what you study. That will change the entire shape of your life. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, take risks. Not for the sake of taking risks, but in the pursuit of following what you like doing or what you love. So yeah. Uh, Vihan Srinath, never overdo something that is turning out good so far. Know when to stop. Man, this piece of advice resonates so much with me. Uh, I never overdid something in my life, so this wouldn't be a piece of advice I would give to my younger self. But this advice, looking at from an advice perspective, makes so much sense. uh, Whenever I listen or hear something, right, I change the coordinates to the things that I understand, and then I perceive that. So in my life, the things that I like is like fitness, design, like the podcast and all of this, right? So from this perspective, when I look at this advice, it makes so much sense to me. So while I was working out like few months back, uh, I wanted to like become strong and then like lift heavy. So I was always lifting heavy. Like every single workout, I was always like maxing out and lifting heavy. I didn't see any progress. In fact, I was becoming weaker and weaker. And then after I did my research, I realized that your body needs time to recover. Recovery is, in fact, equal or more important than the time that you spend in the gym. So it's like, and you don't overexert yourself all the time. So, like you always lift weights in moderation and slowly progress. Like that's how you become strong. And so, yeah, in that sense, like knowing when to stop and not overdoing something, uh, it makes a lot of sense because like right now when like passion and like hard work, like these are the terminologies that gets used all the time, right? So in this pursuit and in this whole ecosystem of constant motivation and like in this world of Gary V's, it's like you're always working, and hard work has been like over glorified, and passion and then like not sleeping, like putting all your like sweat into it, has been like over glorified. So like there is always a fine space, like it is called flow state. So that is when it's like you are not like putting a lot of efforts and you're not putting under efforts, you're putting enough efforts to which will give you results. So like that is what will like give the best results, where like if you're pursuing something, like that is what will give you the best result. And so yeah, that's a good piece of advice, Vihan Srinath. So yeah, and the last piece of advice is from Neha S Taparia. Don't make a blooper in your career choice, and be gentle to yourself. So there are like like two pieces of advice that Neha Taparia would give to would give to her younger self, which is like don't make a blooper in a career choice and to be gentle to yourself. Uh, like yeah, like I've been talking about like career in this episode, and I am not gonna like talk more about that. But yeah, like making a good choice in career is important. uh, I think that like taking a step back and redefining what career is could also like be very helpful. It's like now we all have like our own definitions of what career is, and there is a set definition of what career is by your parents, and like society has the definition. And like just redefining it would make so much sense. Like when I had to make a decision for my college, like choosing what I was going to study, I just eliminated all the thoughts about future or like about the pay, about the job and all of that. I just asked like one simple question for myself. uh, I read the curriculum and I read the subjects of design, and I was like, holy shit, this doesn't seem like studying. Like when I was in school, like maths and science were like such a like was such a turn down for me. uh, like for me studying, I started associating that like boring and jarring feeling with studying. So that word studying became like the definition was very negative. And so yeah, I eliminated all the extra questions, I eliminated all the extra thoughts. I just asked like, will I enjoy studying this? Like does this uh make me curious? And the answer was yes. And I was like, fuck everything. Like, I didn't, if I enjoy what I'm doing, and if I am enjoying that particular day, and if I start living like one day at a time, I will definitely end up being happy. So, and yeah, talking about the second part of the advice is like being gentle to yourself. uh this kind of reminded me of how I go hard on myself when I do something wrong. It's like generally if you do something wrong, or if you do something that you don't like, the self talk is so negative. Like you go into this mind space where you want to punish yourself. Like you start talking shit to your own self. So you will start being like such a dumb fuck, like you're such a loser, like what the fuck, what are you doing? And this kind of self-talk is not very constructive. So like I was that like few years back I used to, like, if I did something wrong, I would talk shit to myself. And that kind of motivated me to not do shit again. And that is such a toxic way to go about things. Now what I do is, if I do something wrong, I just sit and analyze like what aspects of my action do I think is wrong. So then I create like behaviors or thought process around that action which will stop me from doing that mistake again. So if I end up doing that mistake again, then I'm gonna give like a constructive self-talk. Like I'm gonna be logical about it, and I'm gonna be like, okay, these are the parts of the problem that is making me do this mistake again. So it's like just being logical about it. So like when you are like supporting a friend, or like when you are talking to your friend, you always be motivating, right? Like you always like talk positive to them. So when it comes to us, like why are we so negative to our own self? Like why are we so like extremely like critical and very negative with the feedback that we give to our own self? So in that sense, like being gentle, like how we be to others, uh it's like pretty nice. Aren't all these like responses like awesome? That made me like so happy, because so I have lived only my life, right? I can just see someone else's life, but I cannot imagine what they've been through, and I cannot imagine their like journey with life. So when I was reading these responses, it kind of gave me an insight of what someone might have been through in life. Like if they are giving a piece of advice to, like if they are giving like these pieces of advice to the younger self, it kind of gave me a sneak peek into that. So I was so happy when I was reading this. So yeah. And now coming to my own self, right? uh the first piece of advice that I would give for my own self is, don't throw shit at people and don't take shit from people. So this is a piece of advice that I'd give for my younger self, and I will still live by this advice. Uh, when you are in a toxic relationship, let's say friendship, or with a loved one, or with your parents, or with a sibling, or any form of relationship, if that is toxic, that means that there is a part of that relationship that you are putting toxicity into. Like it's not just the other person. So when you are in a shitty relationship, all you think of is the shitty things that the other person is doing, all the shitty things that the other person is giving to you. But for that to happen, there is something that you are contributing to. So now when I look back, right, I've had like so many like toxic friendships. So I re-examine them, and when I look at them from a different perspective, there is something that I am adding for that toxicity uh to maximize. So, like, just thinking from that perspective, if I stopped the shit that I put in, I would have probably stopped the shit that I received too. Like, I would have stopped the shit from receiving. So, in that way, now I don't disrespect anyone, I don't tolerate disrespect too. So, I just leave. Like, if you're disrespecting me, I wouldn't throw like hate at you, and I'll just like leave that place, because uh, since I don't disrespect anyone, I don't deserve to be disrespect to disrespect. TED too. Yeah. So yeah, that is the first piece of advice I would give to my younger self. And the second piece of advice that I'd give to my younger self is know what you don't know, or put efforts into knowing what you don't know. It's like uh, a lot of people don't know what they don't know. So like, when you realize that there are stuffs that you don't know, that is when you will put efforts in learning them. If you don't even know that you don't know them, why would you put efforts into learning them? So especially with the design, right? So my major was interaction design, so it's like UI UX, designing mobile applications, like designing websites. So that is the stream that I chose in the bigger umbrella of bachelor's in design. So I interned with a lot of startups, and I designed mobile applications, websites for a lot of startups. And I was kind of getting cocky. So I was kind of getting this feeling that, you know what, I'm good at design. Like fuck this startup guy. Like, he's not even paying me that much. Like, screw this guy. I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna go somewhere else. I don't deserve this. I deserve a lot more pay. So, like, I was getting cocky until I interned at a big company. Like, until I interned at a big MNC. So that's when I realized I witnessed a lot of things that I don't know, because I had a design manager who was pointing out all the flaws in my design, and I was like, holy shit, this is so true. Like, I started seeing all the flaws in my design. I started seeing all the flaws in how I approach things. So now that I was aware of all the things that I don't know, now I started putting efforts into learning them. So, when you feel like you know something, right, you don't put efforts into learning more about that field. Like, there should always be a gap that you are trying to fill with knowledge. So, yeah. And since I have realized this by making that mistake, I wouldn't stop myself from making that mistake. So, yeah, like, these are the two pieces of advice that I would give to my younger self. Uh, so probably I would have saved a lot of relationships, energy, clients, if I would have followed these. But anyways, I would not undo my mistakes. So yeah. So, here comes the end to the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I am so happy that I got to do this episode. I got to learn a lot from all of these replies. So, if you want to be a part of this Q&A, make sure you follow me on Instagram at a Sankarshan Joshi trip. So I keep putting podcast Q&A polls on my story, and I will be sharing those responses like I did in this episode. So yes, and this podcast is recorded on video as well as audio. So if you want to hear to the audio versions, you can head to Spotify, JioSavan and Ghana. If you want to watch me, if you want to watch the video version of the podcast, then head over to YouTube at a Sankarshan Joshi trip. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a beautiful week, and I'll see you guys soon.
A Sankarshan Joshi trip.